This week in comic books and Detective Comics, we kind of get a little bit more insight on this Dr. Hurt guy. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is one sadistic SOB. In Marvel, for some reason, we got a Spider Punk. We'll talk about it. And an independent Savage Sword of Conan and Duke come out. And boy, they're just hitting on all cylinders. All that, a couple of other comic books. But first, I have to try to sell you some coffee, because that's what we do here. Hey, what's going on, folks? This is your boy Pocan Joe to talk to you about Coffee Brand Coffee. We serve people that are tired of gimmicky advertising and branded companies that want to lecture you. At Coffee Brand Coffee, all we want to do is serve you freshly roasted coffee wherever you're at, whenever you want it. Consider Coffee Brand Coffee. Check us out, check our reviews out, and use promo code POCANJOE or the link down in the description to save yourself some money. Give me the opportunity to get you a delicious cup of coffee. All right, folks, get yourself some coffee, show some love to the channel. All right, let's jump into Detective Comics. I went with this cover. I had to go with this cover. I had no choice. This kind of Frank Frazetta type artwork, and the artwork on the inside is just, it matches it perfectly. It's so great. And I'm really digging this Dr. Hurt character. And this one, the story did kind of flip-flop. I fell off of Detective Comics, but now that I kind of jumped back into it, I'm kind of in the middle of this story, but it's super easy to pick up. I like the character design of it. I like his motives. He's just evil. Like, it doesn't make any sense. He's just evil. That's okay. And then it kind of broke off into this story with the Batgirl, the Asian one. I want to say Cassidy, I believe her name is. She kind of breaks into it because they're kind of holding down Gotham right now while Batman's in this kind of dream world, as best as I can figure out. And her and the Question are kind of holding down Gotham. It acted like it was a separate story, but then it kind of bled back into, I think this might be a printer's error because it didn't really make much sense. But there it was anyway. And then we also get definitely a separate off story where we kind of get a flashback about into the motives and how Dr. Hurt kind of works and just how seductive and sadistic he kind of is. It's a beautiful story. I'm loving it so far. I'm going to have to go chase down the other issues of this, which is sad. But, sometimes you just can't buy every comic book. You just, like, oh my God. Can you imagine that, Bill? No. All right, moving on. So that was my only DC this week. There was just nothing else I was really popping on. So if I missed something in DC, let me know in the comments below. Definitely. All right, moving on. Let's talk about What If, number one, kind of relaunching here. And we kind of got a tale of where we're kind of dealing with Venom as our main character. But in this one, if you remember the story of Eddie Brock and the whole Venom thing and how that kind of happened in the church, he was about to off himself. And Venom kind of took him over, and that's where we know Venom today. This one, what if She-Hulk kind of interjected and got, the parasite, right, the symbiote stuck to her? How would that look, and how would those two work together? And it looks like we're going to get a little help from Moon Knight, because dealing with voices in your head, who better than Moon Knight, who's got like 3 or 4 of them in his head at any given moment. Crazy on crazy, right? So I think we're going to kind of go down a what if symbiote type story. I don't know how I feel about a series of that. Like just a one-off story. What if we're always good as kind of a one-off throwaway? This is kind of interesting. Maybe some concept stuff in there. But I'm not particularly interested in a long-winded what if story. That's just not my flavor. This was good. Will I pick up issue 2? I don't know. Depends on the pickings that week, right? Because you got to show a little love to everybody. So, yeah, all in all, good story. Didn't mind it. Moving on, let's talk about Giant Size Fantastic Four. So, if you don't know, Namor has this saying, Imperious Rex, right? And we always kind of associated it with the Julius Caesar and that kind of thing. Nobody ever thought that it could be an actual character. And in this, what it is, it's not his real name, but it was his original title. So what are we doing? We're dealing with, is it a bad guy? Is it a good guy? Is it a little bit of both? Is it a good-natured person with bad intent? And the answer is going to be yes. And I like those kind of characters. That seems more realistic to me. So we have an Atlantean from like 1,000 some odd years ago who was locked away because he was trying to encourage the two fractions of Atlanteans to kind of merge together, right? Revolution through evolution type of scenario, which I thought was great. It's a great story in order for the survival of the entire species, right? So I think that was good. And of course, they did the superhero thing when they first met up. They've had to fight a little bit, yada, 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 back and forth, right? The trope, right, happened. With the Fantastic Four involved and a character who I don't really know that well, with all of it kind of happening and then, everybody taking the pause and understanding one another, and Fantastic Four being like, okay, well, you're free now, go do your thing. And they just kind of let him go. And it looks like he's not too impressed with the reign of Namor in it, who was imprisoned at this time for all of his actions of trying to take over the world. So, yeah, I don't know. I think this is going to be good. Oh, also, just so it clear, and I love the fact that they did this. They kind of gave a reprint in there of Fantastic Four number 33. So you can kind of see that these two different fractions of Atlanteans at the time that they existed. This is, of course, a very famous comic book. So you kind of get that beefed up in there, too, to kind of solidify this character. I think the character's got staying power. It makes sense. His intentions are definitely going to be something that's going to be a longer run story. So, yeah, pick it up. Pick it up. Just go get it. It's going to be something. And I just love the way I don't know, he's kind of got this, I know it's a comic book, but he's got a persona to him in this, right? I don't want to say a holier than thou, but a take no nonsense type of attitude. And I like that. I like those kind of characters. So yeah, definitely hot. All right, now let's talk about Spider-Punk number 1. Of course, I went with this. We'll just call it the rock and roll variant. This is Arms Race. And I don't know. Oh man, there's no good way to put this, is there? The story doesn't make much sense. And the reason why it doesn't make much sense, I'm going to kind of blame a couple of things on this. One, it's very hard to read physically. Like, there's random red words in it. There's some sections where it's really kind of blurry. And like, I'm thinking, okay, maybe I just need to put on my cheaters. Put on my cheaters, it's actually worse. I don't know how that even happens. Also, the use of foul language in it. So, they use the little squiggly lines thing, right? And I get using foul language is kind of a direct use to make something a little bit more serious or comical or something along those lines. But in this case, in this story, in the dialogue, it's just randomly thrown in places. Like, for instance, there was this phrase right here. What cuss word is that supposed to be? Even if you add ing to it, it still doesn't make any sense. This is what I mean by just throwing a random cuss word out there. It's like somebody finally got permission to cuss and they're just like using it in the most awkward way. Also, I don't know what this is, but in one issue, we don't need to know why every single character is truly unique and different. Like, you could have spread that out over a couple of stories. Help make a little sense in here. In this one, we get Hammer, Stark's rival, Hammer Corporation, and we get Doc Ock in this kind of other universe. Where they're trying to get rid of course, Spider-Punk or the whole Spider Band. For some reason, Wakanda's helping this Spider Band people because they see him as a leader or something like that, or they have faith in him or whatever, but they're always kind of questioning him. It was weird, and I still don't get the Wakanda to them connection. It was weird. Riri Williams is in it. I'm not sure why. At one point, one of the characters can't make up their mind if they want to speak Spanish or English, which I'm cool with either one, but like the jumping in and out of it, I don't know. The thing missed me. And the motives of the characters when they explain it are thin. And also something was said that just drove me crazy. At one point, one of the characters, Riri Williams, Kamala Khan, she gets attacked by Bullseye. She's sitting on a couch eating some popcorn or something. He throws a playing card in at her. Right? We know that's his stick. And she goes, it's so stupid. She was like, do you know how hard it is to get popcorn when you have no infrastructure. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, that sounds like something you would hear on somebody on like a middle school or say on TikTok when they're trying to be like political. Like that has nothing to do with that. Maybe the fact that you guys are tearing up all the roads everywhere probably would have more to do with that than anything. It's it's not. It didn't hit. Let's just say it didn't hit and leave it at that. If you enjoyed it, please tell me why down below. Like, what am I missing in this? The artwork was pretty cool. I'll give it that. Like, I'm not totally trashing it here. And I've always kind of liked the idea of Spider-Punk, rebel, the whole 9 yards. But I'm not seeing a rebel in this. I'm seeing a middle school art teacher that's still too busy trying to be cool and teach something and uses foul language randomly. So yeah, you can miss me with that. Next, my pick of the week, Duke number 3. You knew this was going to happen. Big old fireworks everywhere. One time. All right. So in this one, if you don't know, we meet Major Blood in this, which was great. I always thought he was an interesting character. His backstory is even more interesting. He's a mercenary. I believe he's from New Zealand. Really cool. So Destro hires him to go kill Duke and retrieve a device. Where's Duke? Duke's in the pit. He's imprisoned. And Baroness is trying to talk to him. So something very interesting happening here I kind of want to put out there. The difference between duty and a contract. When somebody takes an oath or has something along those lines, right, where they have this other motivating factor to make them keep an oath or a sense of duty or something that's non-contractual, meaning I joined the army, I signed a contract. The contract's done, I'm gone, but I also took an oath. There's no time limit on an oath. You see what I'm saying? So it's up to me to maintain that. Baroness kind of tempts him in this to try to say, why are you not helping me escape? Why can't we escape together? These people obviously do not care about you. And he knows he's in the right and he still wants to do the right thing. It can be kind of a thin line there. And there's definitely some ethical questions in there too that one may ask themselves, why? Why am I doing this? And more importantly, even moral ones. So yeah, I really like that. But another brilliant piece of this is Stalker at one point is talking to General Hawk, and he's like, hey, Colonel, help me figure this out here. We know Duke. We know what Duke is. Like, something's not right here. Like, they immediately notice that kind of the veteran burnout. We see this in the military sometimes too, just when the veterans just burned out. And what do? We kind of see that burned out effect in here as he kind of describes it to General Hawk, which was great. So Major Blood kind of breaks in and tries to get to Duke. Ends up dying. I'm not going to tell you how. I'm not doing all the spoilers in this, but he gets it. They introduced him, and then they. So he's out of the picture. But now we have Joe's on the run, and Rock and Roll, of course, teamed up with them to escape out of the jail while Major Blood and all of his soldiers are attacking. The thing is nonstop action, and then they have those juicy little tidbits in there, enough just to make you want to read something like Recognizing Burnout, asking those moral and ethical questions and things like that. So I think it's really smart reading. I think it's very enjoyable. It's action-packed. The artwork's stunner in this. This thing is a home run, and that's why it's my pick of the week. It's everything you want in a comic book. Maybe, less capes, more guns. All right, last but not least, it's a short one this week. Savage Sword of Conan. So, if you don't know, way back in the day, in the 1900s, Conan used to come out with magazines like this, and they were black and white, this great black and white kind of grayscale effect to it. I didn't mean to pop it on that page. A little side view, but I'm sorry. And they were great stories, and you would get other stories in here. We see Solomon Kane in here, who's a fantastically great character and very underutilized in the DC universe as far as I'm concerned. This is a fascinating character, kind of a witch hunter type of guy. But in this one, it's everything you would expect from a 1970s van art. It's the best way to put it. Right? The barbarian, the dragons, the half-naked women, and then this story of epic proportions and fantasy that they didn't how are we going to make this better and modernize it? No, they were like, this is Conan. This is what Conan does. Boom, and gave it to you. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It almost made my pick of the week. Almost. You can't beat Duke. I'm sorry. Alright, so that's my comic book haul and review this week. Keep your eyes open. If you haven't hit that notification bell yet, you may want to do that. I have another independent review that I'm going to be doing here. Probably be released on Saturday, and I want to be sure that y'all see it because I really want to promote this. It's called Beeswax. I'm going to tell you more about this. I got lucky and caught somebody's live, and I contacted the person, reached out to him, bought not only his comic book, but I bought the ash can too. And I paid for signatures and remarks and everything else to help support them. And I want to give you that opportunity as well. So definitely hit that notification bell. It'll probably be out this Saturday. If you see it, review it, and we'll tell you how to get this comic book, or at least my thoughts on it. So that's all I got. Short week. Nothing else to say but bye. I'll see y'all later. Bye.